gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
Welcome back to another Sunday special. And again, we're reading Hellboy, Seed of Destruction. This time, Chapter 3. Let's dive on in. Whoops. Alright. Sorry about that. When I look back on all the years of my career as the world's greatest paranormal investigator, it seems as though I've spent a lot of time with both feet off the ground, leaping, falling, sometimes being picked up and hurled. In fact, I've sort of gotten used to it. In fact, I've sort of gotten used to it, in fact. Sorry. But this is different. I was pulled down through the floor of the old Cavendish mansion, and it seems now like that was hours ago, days ago. I hit the water, and the piece of my brain that's still working tells me that means I can't have fallen nearly as far as it seemed. The Cavendish house sits on a shallow spit of land sticking out into the lake. It's almost at the same level as the water. The level is only a few dozen feet above sea level, and no water can be lower than sea level. This big, dark, cold pool can't be more than 50 or 60 feet below the house. As all this runs through my mind, I can almost hear Liz chiding me. "Oh, come on, Mr. Wizard," she'd say. "There's work to be done." But I don't really hear Liz. I don't really hear her. Liz is gone, snatched from our room by some unknown force. Same force I'd bet pulled me down here. It feels bad down here. All over my body, coarse black little hairs rise and bristle at the touch of evil. And then I hear the voice, that strange, familiar voice. "What you feel, creature, is the long and bloody history of this place. Open your small mind to it. You can hear the screams. Open your mind to it. Can you hear the screams of futile sacrifice? Can you smell the hot blood on these cold stones? 800 years ago, men still worshipped the serpent and sought to appease him with the blood of innocents. Fools! The serpent cares not for the blood of men. He craves but one thing, and that is freedom. 8 centuries ago, mortals lacked the power to free the beast. But that power exists now here in me. Look around, creature. Feel fear and wonder at what you see. The serpent, the Ogju-Jahad, the 7 beasts, they spoke to men in this place. Whispers and dreams, they speak to me. Do tell. 50 years ago, you were brought across into the world for a reason, creature. You were called to stand beside me at Ragnarok, to command the power I shall unleash upon the world. Here is your purpose. Here is your destiny. I think I'll pass. You do not seem to fully understand, creature. By those words I do not offer. By those words I command. I don't think so. Get stuffed. Blam! Hellboy blasts the guy in the head. Hey, fall down, man. The Torch of Liberty said I was the worst shot he'd ever tried to train. But I know when I've hit something, and I hit you. How come you're still standing? And the guy turns around and he's got some weird looking stuff coming off of his face and says, it might be fire, I don't know. So something that obviously I'm not going to be able to read. He doesn't utter so much as squeak, but the air rings like some great frozen bell. And I feel for all the world like somebody just swatted me with a submarine. I hit hard enough to knock the wind out of even me. Never again raise a hand to me, creature, he says with a burning head, I guess. Maybe it's just smoking. I conjured you into this world and I can wipe you from it. I'm beginning to believe him. I've been a paranormal investigator getting on 40 years now. I've seen a lot of things, learned a lot of things. In the pockets of my old coat are full of charms and talismans I've collected from the four corners of the world. By rights, any one of them should have protected me from just about anything. But he either neutralized all of them somehow, or worse, he's just too damn powerful for them to work against him. Until I know which, I decide to stall things a little bit. Nice trick, putting your head back together. You're not the first who has tried to destroy me, creature. 80 years ago in Mother Russia, at the place of Prince Yusupov. Fuck it, I'm not gonna get it right. I was poisoned and shot and hurled into the frozen Neva. But in those icy waters, the serpent called to me. He bade me rise, bade me fulfill my purpose, and visions of a world transformed by Holocaust and fire. He showed me what my purpose is. It is my destiny to preside over all the fall of humankind. And you're offering me what? A chance to be your junior partner in this little fun fest? Thanks, but I have other plans for the apocalypse. Fool. You still do not understand that this is no choice I offer you. What the? I am not surprised you do not recognize him, creature. He is much changed, even in the short time since you last met. The power of the Dragon Kings grows in him with every thunderous beat of his heart. It does him that in him does their ancient seed bear fruit. He shall stand among men as the first of a new race, a new breed of titans. Of Sven Olafsson, the frail human flesh, there is no more. With the 3 Cavendish brothers, I will confess, I had considerably less success. Transformed they were, as Olafsson had been. But in their heart of hearts, a flicker of their human frailties remained. Having slain their mother, they have gone. Fled into the darkness to wallow in the dry dust of their lost generations. This is Abe. I was uneasy when I first came into this place. The more accustomed my eyes became to the gloom, the more I see my disquietude was not without cause. This is a place of the dead, but not a quiet place. The unmistakable impression is that something has been rooting around in the remains. And if God chose, I shall love thee better after death. Okay. And here perhaps I found the culprits. This place of death is not entirely without life. But what sort of life? I sense a kind of kinship with these strange amphibians, but not enough that it keeps me from taking 3 cautious steps backwards, away from the silvery rings that ripple out from the spot they went under. Fearful to take my eyes from the water that I probe behind me with an outstretched hand. And rotten wood reveals itself to be too weak to tolerate even my gentle touch. Darkness gives way to greater darkness, shadow on shadow. But one of those shadows has a shape, and I think a name, Elihu Cavendish. The old wizard wasn't kidding. The thing that used to be Sven Olafsson is about as tough as anything I've come across. A piece of me wants to think that's maybe because I know this is all that remains of a man, maybe an innocent man. So maybe I'm holding back a bit. Maybe, but probably not. I feel myself starting to get angry. Good. Sometimes I can accomplish more that way. Sometimes not. The part of my brain that's still working on something like a rational level tells me I'm going to have to find a way to call this fracas to a... tells me I'm going to have to find a way to call a halt to this fracas pretty soon. Even if it's just a short halt, I need time to catch my second wind before Froggy reaches down my throat and pulls out my lungs. Froggy, however, has no intention of giving me the space I need. I cling to the small hope he's operating solely on some kind of amphibious adrenaline, that he doesn't have a really clear idea of just how close he is to winning. We've got Hellboy splashing up out of the water, probably thrown and getting battered around. Some hope. Enough, Olafsson. We do not want the creature dead. He would be of little use that way. Yes, you have something to say? Oh. Yes, perhaps at this time I told you something more of myself. Following the exaggerated reports of my death, I left the blessed soil of Russia. I knew a town in Italy, small, secluded place I could rest, a place I could regather my power. For more than 20 years I lived in isolation, preaching on occasion to those brave souls who dared approach me, telling of the coming of Ragnarok, the new age of the serpent, speaking as prophet of the apocalypse, but mostly wrapped in silence as I listened for the voices that had spoken to me under the river. Listened and heard nothing, so I waited instead for some other kind of communication. I wanted a sign. A sign that came at last was the form of a small, cunning human. His name was Himmler, and he came here to hire me, to take me to that land which was the ancient enemy of my beloved Russia. Take me to Germany. There I was introduced to a small, doomed madman. But a madman in whose doom I saw a chance to harness unlimited resources. I permitted myself to join these puny minds the Reich had assembled for them itself, believing them unequaled in the world, unequaled in talents for creating weapons of mass destruction. They were fools, of course, compared to me, but I saw in them rough gems I might shape and polish. Crude their thoughts and minds might be, but utterly untarnished by limitations of conscience and morality. I worked closely with three I deemed most rational among them, guided them so that they thought they themselves had conceived the project they named Ragnarok. Had them imagine the construction of the Ragnarok engine. Behind their backs I laughed at their ridiculous conceits. No mere human mind could have conceived such a wondrous device, as no mere human form could have contained the forces which this engine would summon and magnify and direct into me, that I might become the key by which the beast would at last be released from their prison. As the 1,000-year Reich ground down its last bit of bloody days, the project neared its culmination. Astrology guided me to the place. Numerology guided me to the time. There was no means by which the result of the experiment could be accurately predicted. The Nazis thought it failed. I knew better. I did not know precisely what, but I knew something had been conjured forth from the worlds beyond. You. But before I could press my investigation further, the tide of war turned irrevocably. Germany was destroyed. Hitler, Himmler, and all the rest were dead. As triumphant foreign armies marched across the ashes of the fatherland, my brave associates fled to prearranged hiding places. I was alone. And for the first time I was unsure. And it was then, as if my momentary weakness had somehow rekindled them, that I heard once more the long silent voices. They spoke, and they bade me go. They bade me go north to the Arctic wastes, to the very top of the world. With a handful of paid companions, I marched up the broad shoulders of the world, north and ever north. Those who marched with me had no interest in my mission. They only came for the gold I promised. Their souls were small, but they were sufficient to sustain me. So it was alone that I arrived at last at my destination. So it was with my eyes alone, which looked upon the fabled temple of the Jahad, built uncounted aeons past by the first race of men, and within its frozen walls something older still, for the temple was built to contain it. the Sadurheim, left by the Ujujahad that they might always have a foothold in the world from which they were forever banished, hidden from the eyes of God, dead and fossilized. To another it would have seemed a grotesque statue, but not to me. I felt its mind alive and waiting. Seating myself at the foot of the living statue, I sent my body into a trance, that my mind might reach out to the shadowy life dips within its stony coils. Through ancient slumber I had penetrated, and saw with Sadurheim's own eyes the void, and the imprisoned forms of the seven beasts. Amonjad, Adajad, Namrat Jahad, Era Jahad, Nun Jahad, Beli Jahad, Nergo Jahad. Wrapped they were in darkness and dreaming, and in that silent state I joined them. So did the long years pass, timeless, eternal, seeming as a moment, seeming as a century, until the touch of a human hand awakened me. I saw you, creature, and knew this man, and knew you called this man father. Oh wait, I read that out of order. Sorry, guys. Until the touch of a human hand awakened me, the hand of a man named Trevor Broom, and the instant of our contact, I saw all there was to see within his frail mortal mind. I saw you, creature, and knew you called this man father. After his long slumber, Sadurheim was hungry, but I bade him spare these mortals for a while. I saw in them a greater use as my new disciples to my plan than as a quick respite of hunger for the ancient godling. You would appreciate how important it is to my plan when I tell you Sadurheim agreed. He let the humans live to be vessels for the seed of the great serpent. But they were not enough. With the power that had grown in me during my long stillness, I reached out. I sought with my mind other humans. The base camp I had seen in the memories of Broom. I touched others and I summoned them to me. I needed them, you see, as slave labor, to lift and bear Sadurheim across the ice, down the slope of the world to the boat. Once he was ensconced within that metal womb, I let him feed at last on the members of the expedition. All save Broom, whom I allowed to escape once we reached New York. I knew his first conscious action would be to contact you, the one he called Hellboy. In the meantime, I waited while the power within me grew and strengthened. At last, my patience was doubly rewarded, and you arrived. And with you came an unanticipated bonus, an extra source of power with which I now expunge all further delay. The time of Ragnarok is here. Liz! Let her go. Let her alone, wizard. She has no connection to me, to where I come from, how I got here. True, and you may put your small mind at rest, creature. I have no intention of harming her. More damage was done, in fact, by the ham-handed doctors, or so-called scientists, have probed and prodded her over the years. And yet, with all that the fools came, not so much as one step closer to understanding the nature of her gift. Her power is a living thing, a creature every bit as alive as you or I. And a living thing, it needs room to breathe, room to grow. That room I shall now provide, and in so doing harness the power to my purposes. But I see now that the time has come to end this pleasant little chat. Sadurheim is much improved from his former condition. He has dined well on the flesh of men in every port from here to the Arctic Circle. He has sucked the life from the waters of this ancient lake. He has grown strong. And now as I add the power of Elizabeth's sermon to my own, as I open myself as a conduit to the naked force she carries locked within her soul, as I funnel this power and mine into the realms beyond, into the void, to shatter the prisons and wake the prisoners, call them back to this world which spawned them, I offer you one last chance to join with me, of your own free will, creature, to taste the power unredeemed that sleeps within you to fulfill your purpose. Go to hell. No need, creature. Hell is coming here. I know with unshakable certainty that I am in serious trouble here. I need help, and I wonder where Abe is. Meanwhile, Abe does not appear to be doing very well. And that's it for Chapter 3. Join us next week for Chapter 4. Thanks for coming.
You're one microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, designed and directed by his red right